The last time we saw the garden was in December of 2024, and it looked like this. I had just built the garden beds, and I had some of them filled with soil, but some of them were just filled with mulch and needed the soil layer. The peony roots were planted, but I was not sure any of them would bloom, and I didn't have plants in the stairway garden, as you can see here. I have a few things, but not very much. Over the past 5 months, I've been working really hard to get things planted and perennials into the garden. Now the garden looks like this. I have a 1,500 square foot cutting garden in Zone 8A in North Carolina, where I grow and sell cut flowers. I have a lot of annuals interplanted with perennials. And even though I didn't think my peonies were going to grow, they did. I thought surely I'd only have about 50% success rate with these, but almost every one came up. Some of the varieties that I have in here include Canary Brilliance, Bridal Gown, Mother's Choice, Dinner Plate, Dr. Alexander Fleming, Coral Charm, and Felix Supreme. And some of them are Kansas. This spot here is mostly peonies and also heirloom chrysanthemums and a few winged everlasting. I'm really excited to have added a K. Paris magnolia tree. It is a dwarf variety and native to the Carolinas, so it should do really well right here. I'm also going to be planting some feverfew beneath this tree. That won't always work once it gets bigger and shades things out, but it will work for this year. I also have other things like statice interplanted with these mums, just until the mums and perennials grow up nice and big, and then I won't be able to put annuals here anymore. I honestly wasn't expecting any of the mums to be blooming this early, but they are. I can't really remember how that worked in my previous garden, but I always associated them with the fall. I also like to grow statice so I can dry it and use it in my Christmas ornaments in the winter time. And here are some evergreen trees. I don't know how they'll do in these pots, but I need them to stay really small, so I'm going to test this out. This is a shade garden that I have underneath our raised screened-in porch, and it has a stilby and hellebore mixed in here. At this time when I filmed this whole bed was full of honeywort. I really liked it, but I have since replaced it with bleeding hearts because it is also quite shaded under here. I have several trays of Lisianthus that I've grown from seed. They're mixed colors and they need to get planted out very soon. I've since planted them out, but when I filmed this, they weren't quite in the ground yet. In this section right here, I have some random things like feverfew, yarrow, spirea, and this is a spray rose. I think it's called fairy tale or fairy, something like that. And then I also have some rudbeckia growing in here. In the previous video, I also mentioned how much I missed my Strawberry Hill rose from the old garden. She was one of my favorite climbing roses, actually the only climbing rose I had, and the color was so perfect. So I decided to buy another one, and now she is planted and thriving again in the new garden. I haven't worked on trellising her over the arbor yet, but that is something I want to do soon. I'm just kind of letting her grow wild right now, and I'm so glad to have her back. In this bed, I have a few plants of Orlea growing that I had grown from seed. This year, I'm not harvesting off of it. I wanted to get its seed pods and self-seed itself for next year. I have found that self-seeded Orlea is so much taller and better than anything I can grow from seed, so that's its job this year. This bed is full of snapdragons. I've mentioned previously, I don't pinch my snapdragons and I'd rather succession sow them so I can get thicker stems, so I'll be pulling these out soon. I also have just a couple bachelor button plants that survived. And then I also have quite a bit of straw flower. I'm going to let them get a second flush, but I won't be keeping these here for too long. I have bare root perennials interplanted in here, so when those start coming up, I'll be taking these straw flowers out. Straw flower is another thing that I really like to use in my Christmas ornaments at the end of the year. I also like the idea of making some fresh to dry bouquets that would last a really long time at my retail shop. And I'm happy to report that I'm already seeing the insect life and pollinator life starting to increase in the garden. It's always hard starting a garden from new, and it needs to mature and take time to get the soil life and the pollinator life up and running, but I think I have some good activity in the garden now. This bed has some status left in it. It was previously full of campanula, anemones, and ranunculus that I used for Mother's Day and have since cleared out. I do have my dahlias planted in that bed. Here are more campanula. I was hoping to have all of this for Mother's Day, but it was pretty mistimed. I do have a few Holly Hill Pollyanna dahlias that are growing up in the middle of this. These beds will eventually all be dahlias. These dahlias I was growing over the winter time. I was really worried about the tuber surviving, so I just kept taking cuttings from it and propagating it. And so that's why these dahlias are so big so early, because I was able to plant them out in about mid-February. This arbor also has a climbing rose on it. It's called Kiss Me Kate. It's a new one for me, and I'm really excited to try this one out. This is another bed that I have turned over from ranunculus, campanula, anemones, and cool flowers into a dahlia bed. So the dahlias are planted in there, and some of them are coming up sooner than others just because I wasn't able to plant all of them at once. This dahlia is pinched and already shooting off side shoots. This is the last bed of campanula. It is coming up the latest. I'm not sure why the difference in timing, but I will take them. This is my first year growing campanula, and these were planted out in February. So this year I'm hoping to do some fall planting and a February succession. These raised cedar beds are on top of an area that gets a lot of rainwater during rainstorms, so I didn't think anything would grow underneath there. However, some of the plants did survive under these beds, so I'm just letting them go. I also have a row of hydrangeas there on the right side in the ground, and then perennials in the top, which are mostly sedum, phlox, echinacea, and things like that. These last two cedar beds are struggling more than the other side. They are looking pretty sparse, but they do have some perennial scabiosa varieties and echinacea in here. And I'm going to be interplanting this with annuals until those perennials get bigger. This is some of the feverfew that was underneath of the cedar beds that I didn't think would survive, but it is poking out. So I'm cutting and harvesting this year. And next year, if it grows back again, I plan on corralling them so they're straight up and down and nice and tall. This bed is where I had my daffodils and tulips planted, and I've replaced that with some cosmos and also some new seedlings. The seedlings are zinnias, gomphrena, and I think a few more cosmos as well. This next bed over here also has a lot of dahlias in it. I don't know if you've noticed, but most of my garden for the summer into the fall will be dahlias. I'm not sad about that at all. I plan on interplanting some zinnias here and there. This bed up front has a lot of feverfew and rudbeckia in it. I also have some yarrow, and since this has been filmed, I have planted my lisianthus where the hose is and where those snapdragons were. I have more rudbeckia on the other side that's next to this fairy tale rose that we looked at earlier. And again, this is another view of the yarrow and red twig dogwood that we saw earlier that's next to the shade garden. I also have a few celosia seedlings planted in here, and this is a closer look at the gomphrena seedlings that I also have. Gomphrena is one of my favorite bits and baubles, so I made sure to get a few in there. I would like to do another succession of summer annuals, but it's actually getting close to time where I need to start my cool season stuff that I want to grow and establish in the fall and overwinter for very early blooms next spring and Mother's Day. I hope you enjoyed this update on the garden. If you did, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time. Bye.